The remake is a show?
Was originally, wasn't it?
Yeah.
MacGruber was
It was
that SNL
an
skit.
SNL skit.
Yeah, it was like MacGyver, but they die every time.
You know,
but
TV was in a really shit spot in life when that's what made the cut of.
I don't know. I feel like
in a
Will
movie.
Forte is a comedic genius. Like he's just the right dude to pull off weird shit like that.
I also agree. During that time is whenever like Parks and Rec was on, The Office was hitting its stride. You had,
Like I said, shit TV. To The Office, not Parks and Rec.
Okay, I mean,
You think The Office is
Got
shit TV?
I don't like it.
Parks and
But
Rec was
shit
better, in my
TV,
opinion.
that's a strong
Parks.
statement.
I
Parks
do
and-
agree
Office
that Parks and
reminds
Rec
me
is
of,
better.
Friends, and I don't like Friends either.
I don't think that's The Office's fault. I think that's social media's fault because I'm partially on board with your sentiment because like I watched The Office as it came out like weekly, like while it was live or whatever, and I was already super obsessed with it before it became like I guess like even more into like
Trendy.
pop culture. Yeah, so like as hipster as it sounds, I was just like, well now everybody is talking about it all the time, where it was just like a word vomit of The Office all the time. And I just,
There's some funny episodes, but I really feel like people overhype a lot of it.
yeah, I mean,
I can see where people like that show, but I definitely prefer Parks and Rec. I've given Office plenty of tries, and Parks and Rec is it was the one that I hit it and never stopped watching it and finished it pretty quickly.
no.
I think Community I finished super fucking fast.
Community's
So
It took me
good.
like 8 years
So
to finish
fucking-
Community.
That's wild.
Bro.
Nathan hates everything.
Facts.
Anything that's good, Nathan hates it.
No, I
title
specifically
of this
hate
episode.
Joel. I'll delve into my Community hate. Joel McHale, I do feel like is his actual character, like Jeff Winger. I feel like that is Joel McHale in real life, and Jeff's a terrible person. Like I can't unassociate him with that.
That's
in my
what makes
mind.
it funny, though.
I think it's an exaggeration of his personality. I don't think it's him.
I guess,
specifically.
but like anytime I see him, like he originally, like Tosh.0, I feel like was actually a ripoff off of his show called The Soup, which was exactly what Tosh.0 and like Ridiculousness is, but with Joel McHale. It was just first. But even when he was doing that, he acted just kind of like that. He's just that really cocky, arrogant guy that is... I find that character annoying. I feel like he's constantly playing that character for like a bit or whatever, and I just don't think the bit's funny. And then Chevy Chase is like legitimately a racist piece of shit. Like he was kicked off the show for being racist to Donald Glover. Like so, I was just like, yeah, I just don't want to watch it. Two of the main characters I off the bat hated, so it took a while to get in. But I will admit that Pierce was actually pretty funny.
I want to say I hated Chevy Chase as a person, but the character Pierce was like,
And
he got laughs.
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know that this was a SpaceBar episode without Nathan complaining about something. Welcome to the SpaceBar podcast, where you got me, Drew.
Nathan. I don't know. I usually go last, first of all.
This is
and
Spence,
I'm a little
bro.
drunk. So
Ooh, I'm Eric.
Kyle.
What's up? I would say Happy New Year's, but by the time you're listening to this, we'll be 2 weeks into 2022. But Happy New Year's,
Yeah, still Happy New Year,
anyways.
for sure.
yeah,
Yeah,
Happy New
It
Year.
is
so-
Happy New Year's, yeah.
It's the week
So
of New
Happy
Year's.
New Year. Yeah. I mean, going more on Community real quick before we dive into whatever we're going to dive into today. The reason why I like Community so much is because I grew up, I think he was on Derek comedy for a while, but Donald Glover I saw through YouTube, and then I found out he was on this show, and the show was actually funny. And I really enjoyed the show. And then I found out that he was a rapper by accident. I think it was back whenever Xbox had Xbox Music, and like I just had like it on like the random rap channel, and I was like, oh, this shit's Bob. Like, what's up? So I'm like, I don't remember what I'm doing, but I'm not looking at the TV, and I look up, I'm like, holy fuck, it's Troy from Community. And then, and then I was a Childish Gambino fan. Still am to this day. Nathan talking about stuff that he hates. Doesn't like his newer stuff, but I appreciate him as an artist. So I love that
Facts.
shit.
I appreciate the depth that he has as an artist.
For sure.
Yeah, from making like straight fire hip hop to complete random.
Good
I don't
funk
know.
and soul.
Like
Yeah,
I can
honestly,
appreciate
thank
the
you.
last album. I can also just understand that I was not his target audience for that album.
100%.
I think it
Like,
was just like solid.
Because you
I
were
didn't-
A shot
I mean,
with
half-
my
he was a hand. No, but going back to the early days of Donald Glover, my favorite video of him is when they're meeting up with people and they're trying to catch dudes for bro rape. And he shows up and he's got an entire bag of giant black dildos dipped in Axe body spray. It's like
Spray Axe on this? Like a can and a half.
like a can and a half. It's a great
so funny.
video.
Have you guys ever watched
Derek Connick.
his first movie that he produced and written? It was The Mystery Team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like that movie. It's a good like a low budget comedy. If you like Donald Glover's type of comedy, like
What's
Derek
it on?
comedy and stuff like that. It might be on Prime. I know it was on Hulu for a while, so it might be on Hulu too. It's really funny. If you like that style of comedy, like early 2000s college humor.
Yeah, it's essentially
I
about
love
him and
college
like
humor.
a group of friends that are like they're like teenagers or like late teenagers, like budding adults or whatever, but they still act like small children, and they have like a mystery team where it's essentially like Scooby-Doo, but like real life shit happens, and it's pretty good.
Interesting.
I also associate with Donald Glover because he used to be Jehovah's Witness. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rip.
Did he or did I know Troy's character was
No, he was.
Yeah.
That was something that they put into his character
Right.
because of the actor. Yeah, it's one of those situations.
I got into his rap before I ever got into like his comedy. I think it was his rap and then his comedy and then his acting.
I definitely
Yeah.
saw the bro rape video before I saw anything else from Donald Glover.
Yeah.
Because that was like circa 2004.
He was one of like the first people I saw off of YouTube. I was like, oh wow, these people are making it like into like the real industry. It's
Yeah,
like
right.
whoa,
Like
I don't know,
the quality of the content was definitely
yeah.
above the level it was at that point in time. It wasn't one of those flip out like fucking
Yeah.
15 FPS grainy as fuck videos. Like they had angles and there was cuts and
It's like
it was
Vimeo YouTube channel video, like music videos for his
Yeah.
like stuff. But I think I knew him. I knew he was famous when I discovered him as Childish Gambino.
Yeah.
But I think I knew him more as, oddly enough, like I had seen his stand up, which I really enjoyed.
Hilarious.
And then I knew that he was a writer for like different TV shows, like 30 Rock. I think he was a writer for a while. So I knew him as like kind of like a stand-up, sort of behind the scenes kind of guy in Hollywood when I found him as a rapper, and I really enjoyed. Like Camp is still one of my favorite like rap albums of all time. And like I think that's probably why I was just so bummed out about the newest album. Is just as you listen to his discography, like it just goes so much further away from what that was. So it's growth, I guess, obviously as an artist. But
I think what's it, World Star, or what's that album called? The one with World Star and
because of the
Because of the
internet,
internet.
yeah, because of the internet. That's a really good album.
Yeah,
It's like a mixture of
my
both.
favorite album, I think, from him.
Yeah,
yeah,
It's
I like that
solid
one
for
too.
sure.
But yeah, I think it's interesting how like we all have different, I guess, introductions to Donald Glover or Childish Gambino.
Also, I don't know if you guys saw that, but Atlanta season 3 dropped a trailer. I don't know. Have you guys watched Atlanta at all?
I watched the first
I heard
season.
it was
I didn't see
good.
The second season. It's very good.
I think I watched part of the second season.
Yeah, I watched the first the 2 seasons that are out. When I say like Donald Glover is like my idol because like he's a writer, he's a producer, he's an actor. He does it all.
Does it
dude.
all,
Like he's a
yeah.
triple threat. He's more than a triple threat because he can also
Renaissance
sing.
man.
Bro, honestly, like I remember one time I was driving home and I was just listening to the Redbone album, and I was like, I'm so happy that I'm alive when Donald Glover is relevant because like
Right, he
Hey,
does
this
it.
dude's so
he literally
talented.
does it all, and he does it well.
Wasn't he in
watched
the-
He does it well.
He does
is the
crazy
thing.
freestyles, and I watched him like on YouTube. It's like a video's
Yeah.
like 15 years old, but he like was doing an interview, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I guess I'll do this freestyle for you," and like literally made the beat there on like a little fucking Maxio keyboard or whatever they're called, and then killed it. It was disgusting.
Yeah, he's a great lyricist, and I think that's why I didn't like the newer album so much, is because it was more about the music and
Than
kind
the
of like
lyrics, yeah.
vibes rather than like him stringing together like good bars and shit.
and even though it's not like a like industry norm singing. I think he has a really good singing voice. Like, if you ever listen to him,
I agree.
fantastic. If you ever listen to him do the cover of "So Into You,"
Oh my God,
have you ever
it's a
seen that
banger.
cover?
It's
Bro,
a
so
banger to
fucking
have.
good, so good. If you haven't seen that, you
Wasn't-
should listen to it.
Wasn't he Simba in like the live action Lion King?
Yeah, he was
So
Simba.
like even then,
Got to
I
sing
have
with
to watch
Beyonce.
Facts.
just like imagine like him like being him. He went from like just a random Jehovah's Witness to like he's become a writer, a stand-up comedian, a rapper. He's been in Spider-Man movies. He's literally done like anything that somebody who wants to be in the entertainment industry could do.
Yeah.
And like he did it with nothing but like for the most part like everybody adores him as a person. And, like,
Yeah.
as an
Last thing he needs to
artist.
do is like play sports, and he's done everything that anybody's ever wanted to do
Yeah,
in
for
the
real.
industry.
Yeah.
He,
Imagine,
he doesn't look like he wants to play sports, though.
Nah.
No, he's definitely not that type of dude. He has a line in one of his songs that says like he's gonna make people say that like Michael Cera is a white Donald Glover, and it's like I feel like it's the opposite of that, but like Donald Glover's kind of like I don't know, like entirely own his own like person. There's no like other person to compare him to. I don't know why he compared himself to Michael Cera, but I guess it's
Is
just
that
'cause,
one
like-
of his jokes about Michael Cera being Shaft? Is that one of his jokes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. That's what it reminded me of.
Yeah, I can't remember what it's from his stand up. I can't remember what the setup to the bit is, but he was like, what's next? Michael Cera's going to be Shaft.
Yeah.
And then he does that whole thing. But yeah, like there's nobody like to compare to him, I don't think, as far as like entertainers go. Because there's been a lot of people that do movies and then rap, or like sports and rap, or like sports and movies, or movies and something else. And it's like there's always one that's not as good as the other, but everything that he does is like pretty on
I don't
par
know,
with
bro.
himself.
The Rock was killing it in wrestling, you know.
Listen,
And then
I mean,
he's
The Rock
killing
was
it in
The Rock
acting.
is a phenomenal. No, The Rock is a
Now he's a
shitty
rapper,
actor,
bro.
The Rock
Yeah,
is
I was
a
gonna say-
shitty actor. I love The Rock. He's charismatic as fuck, but he's a shitty
yeah.
actor.
I don't like him in anything. I'm not excited for Black
I don't know.
Adam or
I
anything.
liked him in
I don't know. Shazam's
the
one of my
movie he just
favorites
did
too.
with Ryan Reynolds. The
Red Notice?
The movie
Red
where he
Notice.
played the same version of himself that
he
he's
plays
played
that
in
in.
every video or every movie that he's been in. Like he just has. That's why I think I like when you compare him to like Dave Bautista, where like Bautista, he's done a lot of roles where he shows like he has depth as an actor. Like he can do serious shit. He
I
can
wouldn't
do
say depth. I would say
family-friendly shit.
range.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, that's fair. He has range as an actor.
Yeah.
The Rock is just literally The Rock in everything. Like he's not any one specific character. He's The Rock. Like,
But a
I'd
lot
put
of
him on the
huge-
same level as John Cena.
A lot of
no,
huge,
John Cena was, I guess maybe.
a lot of huge A-list actors are like that though. Like Tom Cruise
Yeah, for
isn't
sure.
doing fucking anything except crazy action films for the last 3 decades.
But that's one of those things where it's like he does crazy action stuff, but he's also done stuff like Rain Man, where it's just like that's not an action movie. That's a pretty intense movie as far as like emotions and shit. And he's like,
Yeah, but that
Top
was
Gun is also, like,
super early
actiony,
on.
but,
Like The Rock did Tooth
now-
Fairy.
Yeah, I mean now he's definitely like Tom Cruise has like leaned into like the action role. There's definitely the people like Tom Cruise, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Jason Statham, and I guess The
Keanu
Rock were
Reeves.
like. Keanu Reeves is a good actor though.
Agreed.
John Statham, not great. Arnold Schwarzenegger, subpar for sure. Like all of those big action stars, they're action movie stars or whatever. Like they're not great at anything else other than that. And like even
Speaking
The Rock's
of-
not great at that.
Speaking of actors that are like top tier and crazy, have y'all heard the story of like Ana de Mas? The chick
I
that
don't
was
even
in
know
the
who that
new
is.
Bond movie. She was Tomb Raider. Or no, she wasn't Tomb Raider. She was
Sounds familiar.
Is she in Knives Out?
she was Ex Machina, Ex Machina.
Oh no, Armas?
Yeah.
I think it's Knives. She's in Knives Out, right?
No, I think
so.
Ex Machina is
Yeah, she
Nicola
is.
Vikander.
I love that
She's
chick.
in Blade
Yeah.
Runner as well.
Blade Runner. She's the
I'm in love
she's
with that chick.
she's
Yeah, Ana de Mas.
so
or
she's
Amaris.
in War Dogs. She's
And
married.
Adonis.
She's married. She's the wife in War Dogs. That was her first major role, and she didn't know English when she casted and played that role. And she phonetically learned her lines. She learned the sounds of the words, not knowing what the words means. Casted, got the role, began recording, and then during recording, like midway through recording, they started to update some of her lines, and she couldn't read them because she had just phonetically, through the sounds of the words, memorized the sounds and how to repeat them. She didn't know how to actually read the words or understand what she was saying during like 30% of that shoot. And then they found out, and in order to keep her role, she learned the entire English language in like 6 months.
Imagine being gorgeous and smart. That's insane. That's not fair.
Minus like learning it in 6 months. Did you know that's actually how like Jackie Chan did a lot of his movies? Like at the early, like even now, like Jackie Chan does, like his English is not great. He doesn't know a lot of English. Like the Rush Hour movies, he was like doing.
I've seen the Rush Hour outtakes and bloopers. I know he doesn't speak English.
Yeah, like
well.
you can tell he doesn't understand like what's happening.
Which is crazy how you can get that far.
Facts.
Right?
He's been in like
He understands these hands though. Like
a dozen movies. But it's not like it's not like it's not like Arnold where they like cut his lines almost to none, right? He's got like 7 one-liners. He has
he's
like
got a lot of speaking
full
roles.
on conversations, conversational roles.
yeah, it's crazy how he was able to like. I mean, I guess I would imagine now he probably knows like a fair amount of English after being in the industry for so long. But like, it's back to The Rock. It's about drive. It's about power.
Facts. We stay hungry.
We devour. Bro, speaking of crazy, sorry.
Go ahead.
Did you guys hear about Antonio Brown, the wide receiver for the Tampa Bay
Wild.
Buccaneers?
So, I don't like talking.
He played yesterday.
Antonio Brown's.
It's wild. So there's a lot of rumors around what happened, and it is yet to be completely confirmed. But he played yesterday. They played the Jets. They were losing badly. Was it yesterday? It was Saturday.
Sunday,
yeah, for sure. So yeah, they were losing bad, and apparently he just wasn't getting the targets, and so he had like left the field and was on the bench, and the coach was like, "Get on the field," and he was like, "No," and then he took his jersey off, threw that on the sideline, and then took his little undershirt off and threw it into the crowd. Took his gloves off, threw it in the crowd too, and they cut him immediately, right, as they should.
As they should.
So
As they should.
There's a rumor going around that he was 8 catches away from hitting a bonus, 1 touchdown away from hitting another bonus, and then like something else from hitting another bonus, which would have equaled out to basically about $1 million.
Do they have incentives in the NFL?
Yes.
Yeah.
And they were
I didn't know
freezing
that.
him out.
That's how that's based.
And it's reported that that's like Tampa Bay history is that they do that because there's other people reportedly on the line of their bonuses and their incentives that are being frozen out as well.
Right.
And so he just left.
I saw a TikTok of his Uber driver and him like after the game.
By yourself. He's not worried about it. But my thing is like, if you're gonna do that, right? I'm all for it. You know, if you have your bonuses and your incentives and you feel like you're being done dirty, of course take action. But you have a whole game left. At that point, there was 5 quarters left before the playoffs.
5 quarters? Oh, before the playoffs.
Yeah,
I thought you meant before the end of the game.
No, before
What sports are we watching?
Because it was the third quarter. It was like halfway through the third quarter too. So you have over an hour or so worth of play time to get these 8 catches, right? If it's the third quarter of the final game and you have 8 catches left, yeah. But
honestly, I think I've seen it touched on in a couple different places, mostly on like social media and shit like that, not so much like news outlets. But there was a Reddit comment that I saw that had like literally almost like max character limit of like just separate AB incidents, I guess you could call them, of where he's just kind of displaying erratic behavior, and all of it was after that like wild ass hit that he took from like Perfect or whatever.
Oh yeah,
everybody's like I genuinely
CTE.
Yeah, like I genuinely think that's kind of what's going on right now. It's like it's a
well.
CTE thing. Like it's like not to like take any blame off of him. Like everyone's still responsible for their own actions, but like I do think that like that there is something like he got a traumatic brain injury or like from that hit.
Yeah, the league really needs to do a better job.
And the reason why I think that it is that is because no matter how much money I make, no matter how much I think my job is secure, no matter how much I think I'm the best position or player in my position, I wouldn't ever do what he did. You don't leave in the middle of a game. You don't take off your pads and go in the third quarter down, because it's what's hilarious is that the Bucks came back to win.
Yeah,
but you don't leave in the middle of the game like that and make a huge spectacle out of it, because
especially on the field. And
on the field,
both teams are still on the field as well, and he's tramping
it
through
wasn't
the end zone.
Yeah, it wasn't like at the end of the third, you just decided like, or in the middle of the third, you're like, we're gonna go into the locker room and I'm not coming out. Or at the end of this quarter, I'm gonna go to the locker room and I'm not coming out, or I'm gonna say I'm sick
right.
and then not play anymore because I'm done. He like made a whole thing about it, and there's stuff like on his social media and stuff that furthers that narrative to where he's just acts so out of pocket, and like I get that I get like he has like the superstar mentality to where it's just like I'm the best, I can go anywhere I want to, but at the same, you got to be a little bit smart, man. Like he's what people thought T.O. was, in my opinion.
Right.
He's the extreme of what people thought T.O. was. T.O. was not that bad. He was he was just passionate.
Yeah, like he's literally T.O. with a traumatic brain injury. Like less impulse control.
T.O. I feel like could get on a field right now and still play. honestly,
I think it's
sure.
45, 50.
Could do that. Yeah, in 20 years, AB will be.
T.O. is definitely a once in a lifetime like athlete. I feel like.
No.
T.O. was the GOAT. That's my man. That's my man. I still want him on a practice squad. I don't care. Just put him somewhere.
Yeah. But speaking of
coaching
brain
staff,
injuries, though, did you guys hear that Jake Paul he set like conditions basically to Dana White to fight in the UFC? It's pretty wild.
Oh no, I didn't see that.
Yeah,
I saw.
So
he doesn't want to go there.
Yeah, he said he would sign. He would quit. He said he would quit boxing immediately, right? If
Dana okay, then I did.
If Dana dropped and did this, so the first one was increased fighter pay minimum to $50,000. Apparently, it's at $12,000 now. Guarantee UFC fighters 50% of the UFC annual revenue, which is over $1 billion, and then provide long-term health care to all fighters that have previous brain damage, or with it being provide healthcare to them because brain damage is previously said to be a part of the sport by Dana White. And he said that he has 5 days to accept that. And if it's implemented before March 31st, he'll retire from boxing immediately, sign a 10-day fight card or whatever, and fight Masvidal.
Did you see Dana White's response to that?
He wants to fight Masvidal? Man,
he doesn't want to. He just knows that Dana White's not going to do it.
Dana White would never.
So like Dana White's response was essentially like, okay, first of all, like props to you for posting that, I guess, because like you're too stupid to have come up with those rules and those conditions yourself. He's like, but it's a lot easier said than done, blah, blah, blah. And he kind of like brushes that aside. But I think he goes on to say like the only reason you're wanting to fight like these people is because like you're nobody. Like you're chasing like pay-per-view fights. You're not going to get paid. Like you're like, that's the only way that this is happening. And he was like, and also like you stated, I publicly do cocaine. I don't do cocaine. So he issued a challenge where he was like, you want to cocaine test me? How about this? Like we steroid test you because I'm pretty sure you're on fucking steroids.
Yeah.
And so that was essentially his response. And it's being like, no, obviously that's not going to happen. Let's test you for steroids, you bum.
Yeah. He's like, I'll let him test me for coke for 10 years if I can test him for steroids for 2.
Yeah.
I kind of want to go back on the brain injury thing real quick. So me and Clarissa, we didn't get in an argument. We got in a dispute.
Okay.
Because I said, I personally...
That sounds violent.
I expressed that I probably would not let my, let's just say 10-year-old get into boxing if they wanted to get into boxing, but I would let them get into football if they wanted to get into football. What do you guys think is worse, boxing or football? Because my argument was football, you're not, at least nowadays, you're not taught to target the head. There's like new ways of tackling. Right. But with boxing, you were trying to haymaker that motherfucker in the head. I mean, yeah, there's body shots involved, but the knockout comes from going for the head. So I feel like there's more target for damage in the head than in football, where I feel like maybe like if my kid is scrawny and tiny and playing in a fucking, 5A school, high school or whatever, and is just getting trucked by, Myles Garrett, right? So, like in high school, then I probably like, don't put my kid in. Like I know he wants to play, just don't put him in. But I feel like football's exactly.
I think the 1v1 of boxing aspect alone improves on all of the other aspects you just said. So like football, you've got you can get trucked by Myles Garrett, but you can also get trucked by like Myles Garrett and then 3 other people. In boxing, you can get punched by Mike Tyson, but you're only gonna get like knocked out once. Like,
But if
I
you
feel like-
gave me a choice to getting trucked by Micah Parsons or Myles Garrett, or in his prime, Brian Urlacher or Ray Lewis, I would take that from a punch in the head from Mike Tyson.
right,
Yeah,
but
but I
how
feel
many
like-
people are fighting Mike Tyson more than once?
I mean,
How many
that's
how
times
many
do you
people-
play?
first of
You
all,
play Myles
that's not
Garrett
the
at
point.
least more than once a year, and then you also play him on multiple downs. So like you've got a fight with Mike Tyson where you have rounds and shit like that, but most of the time if you're fighting Mike Tyson, chances are you're not going to get out of like the third round, fourth round max. You're going to get knocked out, and then afterwards you're like, yeah, I'm not going to go fight Mike fucking Tyson again. Like, I'm good on that shit. But you don't have a choice when you're like, all right, I'm regularly scheduled to play Myles Garrett 2 times a year at least.
But,
But I
it's
feel like if you
completely
get into
different though, because you
fighting-
got to understand that any Mike Tyson is allowed on a football field. Your son's not going to be fighting Mike Tyson because your son's not going to be 6'4", 225 at
Exactly.
8% body fat, right? If you were
Right.
8% body fat, you weighed 165. You wouldn't be fighting Mike Tyson's,
right, for sure.
That's what
I don't
like,
know.
but any amount of Mike Tyson's could be allowed on the football field to fuck
Right.
you up, right?
feel
Exactly.
like-
That's why I think football is more dangerous than boxing.
And you
Like-
took the technical aspect into it, Drew. You said that they teach you better now, but you got to understand. You brought up the high school era. That's the least trained they're ever going to be. If you're going to get fucking trucked in the head, it's going to be more likely in high school. I think.
I don't think so.
Right?
No,
Because
I
they're
don't-
not well
maybe
trained.
If we were like, maybe if
and
we
they're
were like
cocky
in
as
fucking
fuck.
They're not well
Montana.
trained, they're cocky, and then you also do have the dudes that like there are some dudes in high school where they're already clearly going to be in the NFL. Like you have those dudes fucking up defenders like on the reg. Like you see the highlight reels of these like high schooler kids like trucking these
Or
other dudes
fucking
because
up
also
offensive players.
like to Kyle's point, like a lot of these kids are trying to get their name out there, so they're going 110%. They're hitting as hard as they can.
You
That, like,
can't say
with-
the same. You can't say that. You can say the same thing for boxing.
For sure, but with boxing, you don't get a chance to get a 20, 30, 45-yard sprint at the person before you punch them.
I think the question shouldn't be either or. I think if you're going to be for one, you should be for both. My thing is you shouldn't be for either or, right? You shouldn't pick boxing
Yeah.
over football. You shouldn't pick
Yeah,
box.
make 'em play
Like,
soccer.
if you're going to do one, you should be on board for both
money's in
because
soccer.
So what
both
you're saying
have the
is-
same aspect.
I manipulate my child to where he can tackle me when we play football together, but when we put on the boxing gloves, I punch him 50% and be like, "That's going to happen to you," you know. So I just trick my kid. That's what I'm going to do.
I'll
That's
do
what
anything
I'm gonna
50%. You punch it 100%, Drew. You caused the CTE.
I disagree and agree with Nathan's point to the point where like you're not going to be fighting Mike Tyson every day, correct? But like I feel like if you go into the sport of boxing, anybody's
Mike
going to
Tyson's
have
probably
the
a bad
intent to
example.
fucking knock you out, though.
Yeah.
But also,
I feel like-
at a child level, how many kids
true.
really get knocked out, right? Like, I feel like if kids were getting knocked out on a regular basis, I would see more of those on YouTube and Instagram.
For sure, but you've got
I
tons
don't
of
know.
I
fighters
think it
like Floyd
depends on the
Mayweather.
weight.
Floyd Mayweather isn't knocking people out. He's a points fighter. He wins his fights
didn't
by
mean
literally
Mayweather.
outboxing.
I meant
But it's not even just
Mike
a point
Tyson.
thing. You have to
No,
look
I
at the weight class that Mayweather's in,
Right.
right? Like
Right, there's
he
no
is
weight class in
tiny. He
football.
weighs like 140 pounds, right?
I mean,
like
but that's not to be said because Pacquiao knocks people out.
Right.
And
No, I'm
Pacquiao's
not
in the
saying
same
that,
weight
but I'm
division.
saying like you have people like Mayweather. He can knock people out, but for the most part, he's not a knockout artist. He's
But I'm saying anybody has the ability to knock you out. Basically,
for sure
if
he
you go
has
into
the
sport of
ability,
boxing.
but whether you have the ability and whether you utilize the ability are two different things. I have the ability to turn around right now and punch you in the face as hard as I can.
I don't
but
think
I'm
you
not
could.
going to. Like,
I don't think you could.
there's a difference. Like,
I don't believe it.
Yeah, seeing is believing.
No, I get the points, but I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm more lenient to football.
no, I love football. Like, I wish I would have grown. I think if I had grown up in a different time, I would have been a boxing fan more than a football fan. Like, if I would have been growing up while Mike Tyson was like in his prime, or like while Muhammad Ali was in his prime, I probably would be like, "This is the greatest sport of all time" because it's like one of the greatest athletes of all time in their prime. But growing up with football, like, I guess we kind of did grow up with football in its prime as far as like, and that
yeah,
I mean,
I feel like the NFL was
you can-
definitely better 10 years ago.
Yeah, like you can argue maybe 80s and 90s was the best time, but like 80s and 90s, I still feel like people were like smoking in the locker rooms and like drinking and shit. Like they're like it was yeah,
They
like
sure were doing
it-
that shit in baseball.
yeah, like it was not a healthy environment. I wouldn't say football is a particularly healthy environment now, but it's like a lot of people do have their mind centered on being a healthy athlete as well as like a dominant performer. So I think we have like, plus just medicine science and like surgeries have come a long way since then and shit like
Especially in
that.
the soccer,
But-
Drew. Soccer's
Yeah,
where
soccer.
the money
Fuck
is.
no. I'm putting him in hockey, if anything. Him or her. They're going into
Soccer's
hockey or
where
football.
the money is.
That's literally just
I-
football on ice with boxing in between
No.
rounds.
I feel
Literally.
like have you ever watched females? Have you ever watched female hockey? Like the female, especially like the female Olympians, like during the Winter Olympics. Them bitches are like agile and acrobatic as shit. It's low key more fun to watch women's hockey than men's because
Welcome
they're
to
all
soccer.
about like finesse.
Sorry, welcome to
I don't
U.S.
want 'em
soccer.
I don't want them to play fucking soccer.
I mean, that's almost any women's sport is pretty entertaining to watch rather than like.
all right, now we're
maybe
putting
basketball.
a stereotype on things. I was just saying.
I wouldn't say.
Yeah, I want to watch. I want to watch Leia.
No, I'm saying like no, you dummy. I'm saying like any women's sport is still entertaining to watch. Like
We get
Thug
it,
Rose is
Nathan.
one of
You
the
like
most,
to look
like-
at women.
So Nathan
yeah,
does
I do,
like something.
Hey.
I'm saying
Women's sports.
women's sports
Number
for the
one-
most part are still fun to watch. Like compared
Number
to their
one
male counterparts.
WNBA fan right here. He's a
Facts.
huge Sparks fan.
Number one
way.
and only one.
Is that a WNBA
I'm
team?
not
I
even
could
gonna make
not
this-
name you
Yeah.
a
I'm
single
not even gonna make this
player.
comment.
It's 84% of the viewership.
So before we get canceled, I did want to bring up something. I saw TikTok. I'll have to pull up the picture, and I will bring up the picture probably on the video podcast if you're watching. But I'm going to read it out to you guys. So this guy rated his MCU Phase 4 rankings. All right, and we're all clearly, if you listen to this podcast, you know that all of us are huge MCU fans.
We're just nerds in general for lots of
Yeah.
different things.
So I feel like you guys would agree and disagree with this list at the same time. So I'm going to read it off from number 1 to it's 9. So there's like 9 projects that have happened in MCU Phase 4 so far. And I'll tell him his ranking. So number 1, I feel like we all can agree with. Number 1 is Spider-Man No Way Home, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Number 2 is Shang-Chi at 9 out of 10. Number 3 is WandaVision, 8.5 out of 10. Hawkeye is number 4 at 8.5 out of 10. Eternals is number 5 at 8 out of 10. I don't know how many of y'all have seen Eternals. I think it's
I
just me and
haven't.
Nathan.
Yeah, I haven't either.
Yeah, just me.
Unfortunately.
I enjoyed it a lot, actually.
It was better than I thought it was, for
I
sure.
wonder if it's on Disney Plus yet.
It's not.
It's soon to be.
Okay.
Soon to be, but it's not yet.
I'll watch it. when it
Yeah.
comes.
Number 6, at least the time it's recording. Number 6 is The Falcon Winter Soldier at 7.5 out of 10. Number
It was
7
racially motivated.
Number 7 is What If at 7 out of 10. Number 8 is Black Widow, 6 out of 10. And I want you guys to think hard at what has not been mentioned that has been released.
If it's what I think it is, I'm kind of mad
At the
them.
Bottom of his list is Loki,
Out of his fucking mind.
5 out of 10. And honestly, watching it, I was
Loki's
like,
my
this-
number
this-
2.
Loki is probably my number 2 or number 3. I don't know. Have you watched Loki, Eric?
Yes, I have.
Have you?
I was
Kyle?
thinking of it
Yeah.
in my mind.
I don't think
And I
Loki's my
definitely
number
put it
2.
over WandaVision. I definitely put it over
Yeah,
Hawkeye.
for sure.
I think
Out of all
Hawkeye,
the
I
shows.
I really
What If is
enjoyed
dead
What If.
last.
I really enjoyed What
Yeah.
If
It's
personally.
dead last for me. I
Dead
mean, I
last?
didn't.
Nah.
I'm taking What If
What
over
If-
Hawkeye any day of the week,
No, What If was
personally.
good the last like 3 episodes.
Yeah, I get it.
Like whenever they like showed like, oh, all these stories are interconnected and they're about to come together.
That's
like,
where it
when I
really
was like,
shined, for sure.
yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only reason I would put Hawkeye over that is just because Hawkeye like counts towards like the MCU, like in terms of like what's happening. If that makes
What
sense.
was What If, right?
Honestly,
almost
I mean, it
positive.
could be for sure.
I felt like disappointed.
Yeah,
in
it
my
was
book.
mid for sure. Like it's not.
Mid as fuck.
It's not high. I
Mid
wouldn't even
for
say
sure.
mid. Like it was
Low tier.
one of their. Yeah, like I don't know what their plan with that was. It seems like a weird vibe to like the whole movie just seemed like I don't know with. That should not have come out after Spider-Man or like
The way
around
that I would
Spider-Man.
describe Hawkeye the best is the character interaction was top tier and the plot was literally garbage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like all of the character interaction was top tier, right? Except like I feel like really they, not that there's anything against this, but I feel like they really just put the deaf chick in there to put a deaf chick in there. I feel like she was not relevant. You could have removed her every second of her screen time, and it wouldn't have affected the overall show at all.
She's getting her own show, I think. So
Yeah,
I think
which
that's
I think
why they
is
put her in
stupid.
there. Yeah, I think. Well, I'm guessing they're maybe. I think they're maybe building up to
They're a major
like the
deaf
Young
villain.
Avengers, and so maybe they're just making some of these Disney Plus series as a way to be able to introduce the characters in movies without having to give them like their own standalone
Is she gonna be
movie.
the new Kingpin?
No, she's a good guy. She's not a bad guy. Like she's kind of like an anti-hero maybe, but like at the end she like turns or whatever. And so I'm guessing that's what they were trying to do in the at the end of Hawkeye, where they're like, no, your dad or like your Kingpin actually had me come, like put the hit on your dad or whatever.
I honestly think if they made it instead of, what was it, 6 episodes, if they made it 8 or 9 like they did the rest of the series, like WandaVision, Loki, and Falcon Winter Soldier, it probably would have been a little bit better. But the end definitely felt rushed because whenever Clint was just like, I mean, spoilers, but not really. Whenever Clint's just like, you're my teammate, like I need you, like you're my partner, I was just like, that didn't feel earned at all. That felt like
At
that was
all.
just, I felt like that just was
Yeah.
plot pushing. It was just like,
Yeah,
I
they,
need
like,
you.
They didn't do anything different. Like they stayed being buddies the whole time. Like the only difference is like I guess maybe a personal understanding between each other like happened more. Like they got to know each other more or something like that. But even then, like the whole time, the whole series, like Haley Steinfeld's character was pushing to like be his best friend, and he was more or less pushing her away because of Natasha, or at least my interpretation of it was like he doesn't want to lose another person. Like he lost Natasha in any sort of circumstance, so he pushed her away. And then at the end, he realized like Natasha was like a self-sacrifice or whatever, not his fault. He can't take the blame or responsibility for that, so he could let Haley's character into his life. But even then, like the events of that was just like so muddled, where it starts off with like her suspecting her mom's fiance of being a shady dude, and then her uncle gets killed, and then it turns out her mom killed the uncle, but the mom killed the uncle because he was hired by Kingpin. But in the post-credit scene of Black Widow, you have what's her name come up and hire Yelena to kill Hawkeye for whatever, so I guess that chick is working for Kingpin. There's just a lot of more questions I felt like that series left than they answered.
Well, at the end of the teaser, she didn't hire him to kill him. She just said, "Hey, do you want to know who killed him?" Like, so she could have already known before
Yes.
she got hired. But my biggest problem with the entire Hawkeye is Haley Steinfeld. I feel like the algorithm you have to follow is you have to build up. You start at the bottom, you build up, and then you have a detrimental event, and you fall hard, and then you come back and rise from the ashes. Right. So Haley Steinfeld started and rose and never fell. Like she needed to be building that relationship with Hawkeye, and right before, like as you can, like in a scene where Hawkeye's separate has accepted her as her teammate, she needs to royally fuck it up, right? And just fall to the bottom of her pits and be completely out of it, right? Like, and then rise to earn it back.
What you just described in story writing is called the hero's journey, and the way it works is that the hero gets a call to a venture, and then they come to a crossings threshold, which kind of is like trials and failures, but they have like a helper that helps them along, and then they have a what you call a death and rebirth, where they fuck up royally and the story seems like it's over, but they come to a revelation. Sorry, I've been drinking. Revelations, and they make those changes to make them better, and they come to atonement with what's going on and what they need to do to fix it. And then eventually they, are able to get the inspiration or the power to get them to the next level. And then, everything works out. You literally described the hero's journey, and I agree with, exactly. And I feel like that's definitely what's missing in that show.
Yeah,
Well, I think they tried to make her mom ended up being the bad guy, that revelation for her.
Yeah.
But it's just like that. She wasn't an established character. Nobody gives a fuck if this random lady's mom's a bitch. Like,
What should have happened, in my opinion, is she should have sided with her mom, and then her mom fucked her over royally, and that should have been her pit. Like, she should have sided with her mom, helped her escape, and then her mom fucks her somehow, and she realizes, oh no, I made a bad decision. I threw away all the trust I just built with Hawkeye, and then she goes through a rebirth arc where she has to like take her mom back down and do the right thing. I think that would have been a great arc.
I think the way, kind of to that point, I think it would have been good if they maybe like did have her be like, well, I'll help you get rid of Kingpin, or not get rid of, but like I'll help you like escape his clutches or whatever, like his thumb, and then like have her try to do that, and then find out that her mom was like actually the person that killed her dad, and like have her have to turn on her mom. But in this instance, it's just like, oh, my mom hired somebody to kill my idol, so.
Yeah, I feel like they did a really good job of building up, and then
they kind of just fell flat. Honestly,
I think just as far as like the things that have come out in this phase, it just under-delivered. Like, at least Loki, you got to see Tom Hiddleston be an amazing actor for that entire series,
and it introduced like a whole new spin onto what's happening. And then you had WandaVision, which like leveled up Wanda several levels.
Yeah. Like,
before we rotate off of Hawkeye, all the shit talking aside from the show Hawkeye, I would love to see a Hawkeye and Black Widow show with Florence Pugh and Haley Steinfeld. I think that would be a great show.
Yeah, that would be a fun show. Like,
with a great title, right? Hawkeye and Black Widow, and it's Haley Steinfeld and Florence Pugh. I think that would be a great show.
Florence Pugh.
Is it Pugh?
Yeah, it is Pugh. And any time that they were both on screen, it was a treat.
Magic, yeah, for sure.
They definitely.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say they just had really good vibes. Like, they gave me like just very good chemistry between. Like, it kind of gave me the same vibes as like the Spider-Man on the top, like talking to each other, or like Thor and Rocket, just kind of like goofy frenemies, or like even Thor and Chris Pratt. What the fuck? It's Star-Lord.
Star-Lord, yeah.
Yeah, like they're a fun, like, it's like a bromance, or I don't know what a female I think that's just friends.
All friends.
That's what that is, and it's just fun to see because it doesn't seem like you get a whole lot of that in Marvel movies.
I think you get a ton of it.
I don't think so. Aside from like the pandering fan thing in like Endgame, where all the women get together for no reason.
Oh, you're talking about female.
Don't even get me started on that level.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of like actual female like interaction with each other. That's like, it was just fun to see.
Yeah, I thought you meant interaction in general. I was like,
oh no.
Going off of the like buddy friend thing, I can't remember what it's called, but there's like a stereotype in film where it's just like when strong female leads aren't about the male character or something. Yeah.
Lesbian.
Did you see that TikTok?
Something.
I can't remember what it's called, but they went through each Marvel film and was just like, whenever a female character isn't about the male character, doesn't reference the male character or something like that. And there's only like a few films. I don't know. It made me think of that. I don't remember what it's called, so I don't know why I brought it up. So I can't really go on it further.
You left everybody listening hanging, or they're yelling at the. They're yelling at the screen. Whatever it is.
I haven't seen the TikTok that you're referring to.
But you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, there's a it's like the something effect where it's essentially like there's so many movies that the plot revolves around the woman needing some sort of knight in shining armor or some sort of love attachment to succeed in life or succeed in whatever her mission or goal is. So there are only like a handful of movies where it's just like there's not a romantic plot involved. It's just the woman.
Yeah, I think it's like when they're not the romantic
living life.
interest, basically.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I can't remember what it's called. It's gonna annoy me.
Yeah, it was a really interesting take because, like, if you think about it, a lot of the females in the MCU don't really have a plot point other than the heroes just trying to get them. I mean, like Ant-Man, Iron Man with Pepper Potts, fucking Ant-Man with what's her name? Faith.
Wasp.
Faith Hope.
Yeah,
No.
Faith.
Yeah, the Wasp.
Faith Hope.
Faith Hope. What a name. You know what I mean?
Right?
Is it Faith?
That's a southern
Is it
name
Hope?
if I ever heard one.
Is it? It's not
So-
Faith Hope, is it?
No, the last one. The last name is Pimp. Pimp.
Do we want to talk
Pym.
about
Pym particle.
kind of getting away from this? The Pym part, Hank Pym.
Yeah.
But he's not
So
Hank
it'd be
Pym. It's Scott Lang. Scott Lang is the main character.
no, but Hank Pym is her dad. So wouldn't it be Faith
Yes.
Pym, not
I think
Faith
it's
Hope? Hope
It's
Pym.
Hope
is
Pym.
Hope.
Yeah, I think so. Do we want to talk about the investment that we all made before Christmas?
I'm down.
Yeah, I'm down.
I mean, we might as well. I haven't
I'm
touched
still
my
trying
piece.
to figure out what the fuck that phrase is called because it's bugging the hell out of me.
Well,
Not
you can
to-
be the person.
Not
You
to
can be
piss
the
off the
person
audience
that's-
still, but you kind of like brought up a list and like you kind
Yeah,
of
you
set it
definitely
up.
brought up a list
You set us
for
up
us
to
to
like
go over.
rank
Oh,
it
no.
or whatever, and then
Oh,
we
yeah,
talked
actually,
about
you did
one
do that.
thing,
Well, okay.
and then
How
we
about this? Okay, I'm gonna send a picture in the group chat, and everybody, I'll go first. I'll send the picture in the group chat, and I'll go first. Where you rank all these? All right. Let me just send it real quick. This is really interesting if you're just listening or watching. There we go. Okay. So I personally would keep Spider-Man No Way Home at the top.
I don't have the
where it
list. Where'd you
belongs.
put it? Oh, you put it in the
In the
group
group
chat.
Yes,
Sorry,
in the
I was
group
looking at
chat.
the Discord.
Then where I would probably personally put Loki number 2. So I got Spider-Man No Way Home, Loki. Then I would put Shang-Chi because I really enjoyed that movie. Then I would put WandaVision. Then I would put The Falcon Winter Soldier. Then Black Widow. Then What If. No, I put Hawkeye. Then What If. And then Eternals. Eternals was good, but it wasn't great.
That's what I've heard.
It surprised me how
It's a fun
decent
movie.
it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a fun movie, but it's not that great.
Yeah, but as far as like the MCU Phase 4 and getting
I felt like a DC movie.
yeah, kind of.
Unfortunate.
Super.
Well,
big
it's just because
unfortunate.
there's so many characters. It's just kind of how like the Justice League just introduced a bunch of characters really
But-
quickly.
You can introduce new characters nobody ever heard of or give a fuck about and have a good movie. Fucking
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Guardians of the Galaxy did that. I had no idea who those people were.
Any
And
of
I came
them.
out of that theater like, this movie is probably one of my favorite Marvel movies.
At the
that
time,
It
for
was-
sure,
wasn't
it
even a
was top
popular
tier.
comic. Yeah, like not. It wasn't even one of the more popular like Marvel properties, even in like the comics. It was kind of like a C tier comic
Yeah.
that, with great casting, they managed to make like a
And writing.
probably like a
give
B-tier
James
movie
and directing.
series.
Give James Gunn
Yeah.
his dues.
I'm gonna stick
sure.
with Spider-Man as number 1, and then I'm probably gonna go with Shang-Chi because I really enjoyed the movie as well.
That's
and then
fair.
Loki, WandaVision, What If, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Eternals. Oh wait, sorry, I forgot Winter Soldier. I'll put Winter Soldier right underneath WandaVision. So
that's fair.
just to reiterate, Spider-Man, Shang-Chi. Then we went Loki, WandaVision, Falcon Winter Soldier, What If, Black Widow, Hawkeye, Eternals.
Kylo.
Spider-Man number 1, obviously. I think I would do Shang-Chi next, probably, because, Asian heritage, of course.
We also had such a good experience in the theater,
It was a great movie. Although I did find I watched a video kind of like pointing out the plot holes, and it kind of put a sour taste in my mouth a little bit when you kind of think about it. But I don't want to. We can dive into that at a different time. But just overall, just the feeling I got from the movie, not examining the plot, definitely top tier. And then I would probably say Loki, and then Black Widow, and then the Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and then WandaVision. Let me put that in perspective. The only reason is because WandaVision, I would never watch the first 4 episodes ever again. I would only watch the last 4. And if I could only love half of the series, then like they were great the first time, but I will if I ever watch WandaVision again, I'll start at episode 5 and I'll watch the last 4 episodes.
Not to interrupt, but I'm going to Clarissa just started watching all the TV shows, and she started WandaVision, and she was like, episode 2. She's like, I don't like it. And I was like, you just need to keep on watching it. It gets better. I swear to God.
It does,
and she kept
yeah.
watching, and she likes it. Yeah.
So that's why I kind of had to put it lower because
Yeah,
first of
that's
all, I've already seen Black Widow twice because I really loved the chemistry between all 4 of the main characters.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was a lot of character development in my eyes, and then you kind of got to see the struggles of like the upbringing and like the faux family, and like I thought it was really good. And then
It was real to be.
the mom was like had her coming of, you know, her redemption story arc through it.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
And then what if and Eternals? Or Hawkeye, what if Eternals?
Yeah. It's funny how we're all putting Hawkeye in the middle, but we keep on forgetting it.
Right.
Well, I just have to put anything live action over animated, and then I have to put Eternals at the bottom because I haven't seen it.
Fair.
I don't know. I guess Into the Spider-Verse is kind of an outlier in that aspect, so I guess I could agree with that. So yeah, obviously Spider-Man No Way Home is number 1. Loki is number 2 for me. Like literally, I love everything about that series. Like Tom Hiddleston's performance, the visuals. I straight up have a couple of the songs just from the credits, like on my Spotify playlist. Like the music,
Dun, dun, dun.
yeah, like dun 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 dun. But yeah, just the music in general in that show is so good. I loved it, and like the visuals, and I also. My favorite MCU movie overall is Ragnarok, so I feel like this is going to set up events for Thor: Love and Thunder, just because it's
Another
Loki. Why would it
another
not?
Thor: Love and Thunder reference from Nathan. Let's go.
Hey, I don't give a shit. I fucking love it.
I mean, it was
and
Miss
then-
Minutes on the T-shirt.
Definitely was.
Honestly, I would put WandaVision. I do think WandaVision's number 3 for me. I think that they did a really good job in capturing like the vibes and the feels of each different like period of TV.
yeah.
Like
Yeah.
the Malcolm in the Middle episode is
great.
so on spot, like, or the early 2000s episode or whatever, like so on point. Like, yeah, the Ralph Boner thing with Quicksilver was super fucking annoying. But I rank that number 3 also because I do think that is kind of part of the intro into Multiverse of Madness as well.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is not necessarily a prequel by any means, but like, I think Spider-Man and WandaVision are the 2 movies that are setting up the MCU as far as the series and movies that have come out. I think those 2 are the most important right now. After WandaVision, I would probably put Falcon Winter Soldier. It was good, but I didn't love it. I didn't hate it.
Put that over Shang-Chi.
That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, it's just because like I really liked the Falcon America. I don't know what to call him. The Falcon America suit.
He's
at the
Captain
end.
America.
Captain America. Fair. That's kind of what the whole series is about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That sounds
So
racially
I
motivated.
like the Captain America with the wingsuit. I love Bucky. I love like that bromance between those two. I loved seeing Bucky in Wakanda finally like getting his brain deprogrammed from all the Hydra shit. Like I'm glad that we finally got to see that scene of where he like finally was like set free and is no longer the Winter Soldier, I guess. He's just Bucky. I don't know if the Winter Soldier is a bad guy though. I don't know if that
I feel like
applies.
it is.
Shang-Chi, I mean, I didn't hate it, but it just kind of felt like it was there. It didn't feel like it tied too much into the MCU. It felt, obviously it's its own standalone movie, but it's an origin story. It's a cool origin story. I'm curious and interested in to see like how he integrates into the MCU in the future, but as far as that movie goes as a whole, didn't love it, didn't hate it. Was just like, all right, this is okay. And then honestly, I feel like What If and Black Widow are a tie for last because I'd put Eternals after Shang-Chi. What If wasn't that interested in. Like, there were a couple episodes that were sick. Like y'all said, the last 3 episodes did good. But like Kyle said, if the first half sucks, fuck the rest. And Black Widow is the worst for me. I love Florence Pugh. I love her entrance into the MCU. But the fact that they did Taskmaster so fucking dirty in that movie alone was enough for it to like ruin the whole vibe for me.
I see. I don't even know who that is.
That's
Taskma-
badass.
Yeah, he's a comic book villain in the MCU. He's in a lot of Spider-Man stories where like he has a photographic memory. He can like.
Is he the ring guy?
No. He was the dude in Black Widow that was a chick.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they turned her into a chick and they made her like a deaf mute person when like in reality he's like a high tactician. He can mirror your movements. He only has to see you do something like once or twice or something to get it down perfectly. Like he's an incredibly like formidable opponent, and for them to just be like, well, you're this chick now and then you're also dead, really put a bad taste in my mouth.
So yeah, I can't relate because
it
I
also
don't know who
didn't
that is.
seem like that movie came out when it should have. That movie should have come out in a different phase. It should have come out in an earlier phase. It seems weird to get like a kind of a Black Widow origin story after she dies.
Spoiler alert if you're not caught up on the 23 movies that are out right now.
Yeah. But yeah, that's where I rank all of them.
I think your rating is fair. I don't know. I don't know. I agree with the other two people that put Shang-Chi in their top 3. I think Shang-Chi I was excited for it when they named the casting, and then I saw the first trailer and I was like, okay, this is going to be good. But then like I set real expectations for a Kung Fu movie in the MCU where everybody knows Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And then I was
it was a great movie, like I guess in terms of like choreography and shit, for sure.
I thought it was really good. Also, I really love that actor.
It was great for sure.
I just feel like they're edging us with like what's going on in this universe, man. Like
there's a lot.
I need
for
more
sure.
cohesion. Like I need you guys to interact.
Wong's a cage fighter.
Yeah, like what?
The Abomination.
I have so many questions that I need answered.
I wanted when Wong came in from No Way Home, when he opened the portal to come in, I wanted him to be coming out of the cage.
Yeah, that would have been sick.
It would have been sick as fuck.
Oh, and I don't know. Did I even rank Hawkeye on that?
No.
So, yeah, so I guess that's last then.
We all forgot about
like
Hawkeye.
we literally all forgot about Hawkeye.
Rip.
So I guess that's
Not
like
a
it was
memorable
fun.
series.
But I don't, yeah, like Kyle said about WandaVision, I don't ever foresee myself rewatching Hawkeye.
Oh, yeah, I don't think
But
I'll
I'd
ever
much
watch
rather have
Hawkeye.
a series fucked up in the beginning than the end. Like Drew said, they really did rush that. The finale, it was such a... I was expecting a treat coming from watching No Way Home to watching the finale.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, that also
that.
made me so mad. Like, I know a lot of people
loved it,
liked
though.
Drew loved
I
it.
loved it as well. I
like-
wanted to see
I
it.
know.
But
I wanted to see it, but release that shit on YouTube, bro.
For
like,
sure, drop it in a
we've gotta
TikTok.
Yeah, they
They're
have
3
us
minutes
all-
long.
I was
Yeah,
just
like,
more
they've
excited to see, like, they really did a shit job at, like, wrapping everything up.
Yeah.
And I'd much rather have the series fucked up in the first half than the last, because the last is obviously more important.
It's definitely one of the weaker MCU TV shows or TV series that come out.
Most definitely.
It's the weakest. I mean,
Well, like, back to that post-credit scene. They have conditioned us for 13 years to expect the post-credits to give us some insight onto what is to come, only to give us a 4-minute... Like, I could have stomached that if at the end it panned to the audience and there was at least some character there, like Spider-Man or Venom or Kingpin or like any character watching that play would have made that like bearable. But since it was literally just like it, because it does feel rushed. It feels like they didn't have anything to put at the post-credit scene, and they only put that there because so many people were like, "What? We want to see the whole version of that."
I was definitely expecting Kate and Yelena to be in the audience, because Yelena was trying to do all the shit in New York.
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, that show was supposed to come out I think the first show was supposed to be Falcon Winter Soldier, then WandaVision, and then I think Hawkeye, and then maybe Loki. Because it would make more sense for Loki to be last with the whole
WandaVision was
multiverse
last.
thing. I don't know. I can't remember, but all the shows got jumbled up in their release dates because of COVID. So I think that's why it's probably one of the weakest, is because they didn't really have anything planned, and they're just like, well, we're just going to put this out. It's finished, you know.
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of it got jumbled due to COVID, and also Disney it seems like they've got a weird thing about releasing Star Wars stuff and Marvel stuff at the same time, where it's like they release it one after each other. So like a Star Wars, like Hawkeye just ended, and we just got Book of Boba. After Book of Boba, I think is...
You haven't watched it yet? It's all right.
I'm not a huge Star Wars guy. I realized The Mandalorian made me realize I like the Star Wars universe more than I care about the main movies themselves.
Deja vu. Who changed something in the Matrix?
But Book of Boba is just kind of like I don't know much about Boba as a character, and a lot of
I will let you know he's just a fan favorite. He's not really that interesting.
yeah. I
Have
know
you
he was
seen-
introduced in a cartoon Christmas special, so like I couldn't.
No,
imagine.
yeah, he was introduced there, and then he showed up in Empire Strikes Back. He just looks cool, and that's why people liked him because there's so much
No.
mystery at that
I think
time.
he does look
Who
sick,
he
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing with a lot of these Disney Plus series is no matter what the property, no matter if it's Marvel or Star Wars, none of the episodes feel like they're 45 minutes long. And like that can be a good thing and a bad thing where like you feel so immersed into what you're watching where like time flies by, but at the same time it feels like, well, didn't feel like we got very far in this plot and like now I got to watch 6 minutes of credits. What the fuck?
Yeah. I don't know. My problem with Disney is mainly with Star Wars, and now what I'm noticing with Marvel, when it comes to TV series, is they oversaturate. Like, I don't want an Echo show.
Yeah.
I didn't want a Boba show. They've like announced like there's Acolyte, which seems really cool. It's following like the Sith. I'm okay with that, but like they were like doing the Republic Rangers, which I'm glad that got canceled. I'm glad Cara Dune or whatever her actress's name decided to be weird and like strongly Republican, and like I'm glad because there's some things that they've announced for Marvel and Star Wars. I'm like, you don't need that show. You're just trying to get like a cash grab. Like it's dumb.
For sure. Well, I do think
And
back
they'll
to
get
my
that guy.
point. I know I mentioned it. Maybe I don't remember what episode where like Marvel and Disney they've got the perfect opportunity for the long form comic in terms of like series being the main issues, movies being the special issues, end issues, or whatever. But like I agree where they're picking. I think it's because like with stuff like Guardians, where like that was such an obscure, not a famous Marvel property, they picked it. They made it popular. I think it's just like they're chasing that kind of high where they're like, let's do that again. Let's take, like, everybody's seen Spider-Man, everybody's seen these other characters. Let's take a character nobody's heard of and make it cool. Where it's like, yeah, we've seen other characters, but we've seen poor versions of it. And now you're giving us a universe where we're getting like characters are getting the justice they deserve in the writing and the character development. So it's like, yeah, we'd like to see some of those characters that got done dirty as fuck get redeemed in y'all's version. We could care less about, like you said, like Echo. That's not. Nobody cares. Nobody wants to see that.
No.
Maybe it's an inclusive thing. Maybe I'm speaking out of turn. Maybe there's a whole group of like hearing impaired people that are like crazy stoked. For
Oh, is that her
representation.
name? Was that the chick's
Echo?
name?
Yeah, it's like
Echo,
her-
yeah.
Maya?
Maya. Yeah, it's like her hero name.
I thought you were asking if
Gotcha.
hearing impaired was her name, and I was like, that's a really fucked up superhero name, Kyle. But yeah, I agree. I think they are trying to like take smaller properties that weren't as popular and kind of steroid inject them and try to make them something that they never were, rather than oversaturating us with people that we've already seen in the last 20 years.
That's fair.
Nathan, what do you know about the Lord of the Rings Amazon Prime series?
Surprisingly little. I know it's basically about the fall of Morgoth, which Morgoth is the guy that
Before Sauron, right?
Sauron was like under.
Apprentice.
Yeah, like the guy from Lord of the Rings, he was under. So it's mostly going to be about like I think the First Age. So it's I can't remember exactly the name of it, but there's a specific tree that you get to see in the trailer that is one of the elves' like special trees where like
Is it the Death Eater tree?
A yew tree.
A yew tree. That's what it's called.
it gives the world light, and like in the Middle Earth mythos, eventually they get invaded, somebody cuts that tree down, and that enters like the Dark Ages. So I'm curious to see where it'll be. I think most Lord of the Rings fans are going to be really excited for it. I think maybe some more casual fans of Lord of the Rings maybe might not be so thrilled about it when they realize like the people from Lord of the Rings are like definitely not going to be in it, considering it's like the hundreds of years like before them and shit like that.
Since
but it's got a
Gandalf is
huge
a
budget.
wizard, he's not like eternal, right? Or not.
No, he
eternal.
is. Gandalf is literally a god.
Do you think he'll
He's
be in
part
the
of the
show?
Maiar. No, I can't remember. I don't think he's really involved in the Silmarillion or whatever. There are a total of 5 wizards. There's Gandalf the Grey, Radagast the Brown that you see in the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbits movies, and then there's Sauron the White, who is like the leader of the Order until he becomes a
turns bad.
dickhead. Yeah, and then there's 2 blue wizards that literally, aside from them existing, they never really get
No
any
lore.
Do
sort
you think
of
they'll be in the
detail.
show?
I don't know. It'd be interesting. I do also know that there are tons of works that J.R.R. Tolkien had, like unfinished works that he had that involve Middle Earth, and at a certain point, his son had like wrote some stuff to kind of like piece together some of the works and make them a more whole thing. And they've done a lot of that type of stuff. But I don't know how much. I don't even know if they're like that family itself will be involved in the series itself. I know they weren't huge fans of the movies, surprisingly enough.
Those
But
super successful movies.
yeah, like the one obnoxious amount of Oscars compared
Yeah.
to any other like fandom. But yeah, I think I'm very excited to see a lot of the Middle Earth that like I'm not particularly familiar with. I'm literally wearing a Mordor University hoodie right now.
Solid.
But yeah, it's going to be pretty cool. The budget is bigger than The Witcher's budget on Netflix, and I think that's like Netflix's like highest budgeted property or
Well, it's
whatever.
also guaranteed, right? Like, so
Yeah.
they fronted the money and they said, no matter what, we're gonna shoot all 5 seasons, no matter how bad the ratings are. If I remember the story correctly, in like 1996, Amazon was literally about to like fail back when they were literally an online bookseller, and the only thing that kept them afloat was the Lord of the Rings series. And so, as like an homage, they made the show. They fronted the $1 billion or something crazy like that for the 5 seasons, and it can't get canceled. Like they're gonna record it no matter what.
That's
Is it
Yeah,
more
and it-
expensive than the Mandalorian? Because I know the second season was pretty expensive.
So one
He said
season
$1 billion
is
for
going to
5
be
seasons.
yeah, one season is 465 million.
God
One season,
damn.
Yeah, that was just a guess.
which
That
is
was just an estimate.
Yeah, which is like 4 times the Game of Thrones budget.
Wait, how much was it?
Per season or per?
65 million. I don't know. I just put series budget and it said
It
one
wouldn't
season
surprise me
will
if that
cost
was the
4
whole
times
series. I
as
can't
much as
really
Game
think of like a
Thrones.
lot of special effects outside of like the
No, dude.
Dragons?
Like
the
middle,
snow
like
people and fucking
Game of
Dragons.
Thrones.
yeah. I'm talking about Game of Thrones and the dragons. Yeah, but I feel like
The
once
rest
you
of it was-
CGI
yeah.
one dragon, like they're all fucking the same, right? Like
No,
True.
no, I thought you were about to say like Middle Earth is not going to have. I was like,
Smog
no, it's going to have. That's maybe it's just a CGI thing, but like the Lord of the Rings series, they did a lot of practical effects. They had a lot of extras. Like a lot of the scenes with Gandalf talking to hobbits, they are in the same room. They're just using camera effects to make him
Yeah.
look. Yeah, I think that was really cool, really creative. They were like that was like one of the first series to shoot them like all at once, more or less, to just like bang out all 3 movies. And then The Hobbit came around, and they
CGI'd
mucked
the
around.
fuck out of it.
Yeah, they CGI'd the fuck out of it. They mucked around with the story. The story itself is like not that fucking long. That like there's no way that The Hobbit should have been a 3-movie series. Like that was definitely
Cash
a cash
grab.
grab. Yeah, and like I think it's just since I like. It's wild to me to think that Lord of the Rings came out 20 years
Rip.
ago, and it's literally
Almost.
been it's 20 years. Like it's been my favorite
okay.
movie for 20 years. Like there's nothing that I've seen that have like that I've been like I enjoyed that more than I enjoyed Lord of the Rings. Like I haven't watched anything as many times as I've watched that movie, so I think to see them like bastardize the story and like the effects like that, where it's just like no, like you guys did so well with the first one when you had way less resources. Like now you have the resources and you fuck it up. That doesn't make sense to me. But like I mean I'm a little less harsh on it now after I've rewatched it a few times. I feel like kind of the same way as like people are a little less harsh on the Star Wars prequels these days. Like it's not terrible. I just don't like all the CGI. I don't like the stuff that they did to some of the stories, like the love interest with Feely and the fucking elf. Like that didn't exist. Legolas wasn't in the Hobbit. Like they even asked Viggo Mortensen to come back as Aragorn for it, and he literally straight up told him, was like, Aragorn's not in the story. Why would I come back and do that? And they were like, okay, never mind. And then obviously Orlando Bloom's bitch ass needed the money and was like, okay, I'll do it.
He's like, Sherlock's not making the money I thought it would.
Yeah. And he's honestly like one of the worst parts of that movie is him. Like there's the scene where they're floating down the river in the barrels and he's jumping from barrel to barrel and it looks like not even a cartoon. The CGI is so bad where it's just like that looks like an early like the original Lord of the Rings could have done that better than you did.
So since we're on the topic of fantasy movies, and I want to wrap it up here soon, I know maybe 2 or 3 of you have watched it. I haven't watched it personally, but the Harry Potter reunion special on HBO Go, is it worth it for the people who haven't seen it yet?
Absolutely.
Sure.
It is.
100,000%. We stayed up and watched it at release at 2 a.m. on New Year's Day.
They touch a
Was
lot
it a lot
of
like the-
topics,
Yeah.
and it's just nice.
Was
It's
it a lot
a-
like
it's
the
a-
Friends one, where they just talk about everything? Or
Yeah,
haven't
it's just they don't show anything like the Will Smith one showed clips of episodes and like a lot of clips of episodes, but this is like it's a 2-hour like event that touches on a lot of things, and a lot of the clips that they show really aren't even based in the movies. They kind of break it up,
It's like behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah, like they break it up a lot from like the first 2. I think they break it up by director a lot. So the first 2 were the same director, and then like I think 3 and 4 were the same director, and then it goes on. But yeah, it's definitely worth it. It was.
They definitely do
nice.
it in like the order of the movies they came out. I feel
Yeah,
like
it was a good.
They
it
do,
was
yeah.
good.
Chronological.
Yeah, it did the series justice, the movie series justice at least, and they talk about how some things weren't in the movies, but
You get to see a
Like-
lot of
things
cool
were cut.
stuff.
Yeah, you do a lot.
as somebody that is like so enamored with Lord of the Rings, because I have like the collector's editions where I get all the special features and I get to see all the behind the scenes shit and the making of it. When I first got into Harry Potter and I finished the books and I finished the movies, I really wanted something like that.
Yeah,
to
like a
get
director's
to know
cut.
the universe. Yeah, to just get to know the universe more. And I think that this kind of does that. They don't necessarily dig into the story as much as they do dig into each other as individuals, like actors and shit like that. But even then, that's still fun to see the people that I've watched. Like I mentioned in the group chat, it hurt to hear Rupert tell Emma Watson, "I love you," and then she just says, "Thank you," and I'm like, "Oh,
Yeah.
fuck!" Like I know y'all aren't dating in real life, but
it's Rupert. Rupert's Ron, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
Ron
saw-
tells Hermione he loves her, and she just says, "Thank you." She says, "Thanks, Rupee," and it's just like,
I
oof.
saw a clip where it was just like he was hurt because like she was talking about their kiss in the movie, and she's like, it was fucking horrible.
It was
He
the
hated it.
most
He's just
terrible
he's like,
thing we've
yeah.
ever had to do.
Yeah,
He's like, yeah, definitely, yeah. It's like, damn.
It makes sense on why she said that, but like, damn.
The-
give me
yeah.
a
Well,
break,
I
bro.
think
Like,
in the documentary they actually make it seem like he's the one that made it seem like it sucked. Like they bring it up to where like he was just like because when they ask her about it, they were like, "Oh, if you hear Rupert talk about it, he acts like it's the worst thing that's ever happened to him," or something like that. And they talk about how Daniel Radcliffe was apparently like on set, kind of giving him a hard time, so they had to do it over and over again, just like torturing.
but
him.
everybody was because everybody wanted to
Yeah.
see it.
Yeah.
It makes sense. That
For
needs
sure.
to be like a
Cool to see
brother
more.
sister character for like 6 movies, but like a semi kind of like hinted at love interest.
Well, not
And
even
then
just
they finally,
character.
break into that. Well, yeah, I
Like,
know, but I mean, like
you
the
gotta pull it
characters
out.
themselves.
Like, they literally grew up together, right?
yeah, facts.
Yeah, like there's even a part in the documentary where I think it's I can't remember the actor's name, but the dude that plays Neville, he's talking about how making the movies was really kind of like just kind of like growing up in school for them, where it's just like
Oh,
you had
yeah.
kids that like dated each other and broke up, and you had friends
Yeah.
and
Towards the
cliques
4th
and
movie.
shit like that. And I was like, yeah, like thinking about it, like that movie was probably that series was probably made maybe 1.5, 2 years between each movie at the most.
Not even, I think.
So
Less.
yeah, for a
It's
lot of
8
these
movies,
kids that
10
got to come
years.
back, it was kind of like a magical ass summer camp for them. Like they get to
Oh,
come,
facts.
film a movie at Hogwarts, do whatever the fuck they've got to do for the acting, and then at the end of it, like they just go back to their normal life. So it's just,
I'd say it was
like
probably
that was
almost-
literally
very
wizards.
Interesting.
A full
yeah,
10
literally
years of like constant shooting to bring
Constant.
out those 8 movies. Yeah.
It was one of my
role playing.
One of my favorite scenes is like, and they're showing the behind the scenes of the first movie, and like it's literally a bunch of like 9 to 11-year-olds, and they're playing the hand slap game on the set in between shoots. Like literally, all of them are playing with each other. I was like, that would have been so dope. Like that's exactly what it'd be like.
Yeah, I hadn't realized just because like I haven't watched the first couple movies a whole lot, but I was just like, yeah, for a couple of those movies, like they had like
the babies.
40 kids, like small children, like on set. I was like, yeah, what else are they gonna do other than pretend like they're in school or whatever on a playground?
One of the things that I actually enjoyed watching the movies now is I'm able to see that a lot of the same child actors are coming back movie to movie. So it really was like you like, oh, it's me and blah blah blah. I'll see you in the next 3 or 2 years whenever we start shooting again. Like,
I don't think they
really cool.
I don't think they replaced anybody except
I don't think so.
Dumbledore after he died.
Yeah.
Like
I feel
even
like maybe some of
like,
the Slytherin kids, like Crabbe and Boyle.
I don't think so.
I think they just grew up. I think they got changed.
Well, I know one of Crabbe. I don't know if it was Crabbe or Boyle, but I'm pretty sure one of it's
Goyle
with a G. Like stabs.
All I know is I noticed him from the first movie, and I've watched the first 4 or 5 movies, and the same nigga that's on Gryffindor. I recognize him every time. I'm like, they're bringing my boy back. They're bringing my boy back.
Me, Kyle, and Eric, going into New Year's, going into this documentary, we all rewatched separately the series. To just kind of prepare ourselves for this. And one of the things that I noticed in the last movie, and I was like, damn, they really did keep there's only like one black person in the whole series, but they really kept that one
Kingsley.
the whole time. Like, it's Dumbledore has style. But I feel like that's the only notable part of him. But yeah, I was just like, it's
actually a big character in the books.
Yeah, so is Dean Thomas in some areas. Like they seem racially motivated. Joe. I mean,
I was actually low-key surprised she was involved with the documentary.
I don't think she was.
Wait, what was?
Did you not see the thing?
So they filmed in like 2019.
So every clip with J.K. Rowling in it, they put the entire time that it was on the screen, they put shot in 2019 or shot in 2000. That's the only time they did.
We don't really fuck with her anymore. We don't really fuck with her anymore.
That's what
I was thinking about. Yeah, I was thinking about that last night, and I can't think of outside of maybe musicians, because a lot of musicians are garbage human beings, but I can't think of a single other fandom where like the source material is still loved wholeheartedly, but the creator is hated with a passion.
I know you read that. I know you
come off the rails like as such a fucking asshole. As the world is progressing and like, you know, everybody's trying to become more inclusive. You're literally coming out and being like, well, you know, this guy was like gay and I didn't really like him. Like, I don't like trannies. Like, why? Why are you doing this?
Yeah, it's just like, shut your mouth, woman. Like,
also, I didn't mean.
You know what's a big one?
I caught that. It's transsexual, transgender.
I'm sorry.
And I'll just say the spirit of J.K. Rowling took over. That wasn't you. You didn't have control of that.
Facts. I do deeply apologize. I did not mean that. I didn't mean to offend. That's my bad.
But I mean, that is like on par with the type of shit that she says. Like,
yeah, 100%.
Like, what? Shut up! Like, no, your opinion isn't needed on any of this.
It's not at all. Like, there is no need to just drop this shit 10 years after the movies have come out. Stop it right now.
She's like, I made my money. I can say whatever I want to now.
Mm-hmm. And she's still making the money.
Yeah.
But I think if she wasn't so insufferable these days, we could get continuations of that world. Like
we still are.
Yeah, Fantastic Beasts.
I mean, Fantastic.
I love the Fantastic movies.
Yeah, but
they just don't, to me they don't have the same feel.
They don't.
Yeah,
I think this one will, honestly, because they do go back to Hogwarts and it's more of like a full on.
It's about Dumbledore.
Yeah, I think this one will.
I know, like
tie into it, but if she wasn't such a fucking bitch, then we would definitely have more of a.
But even then, I don't think she wrote the Fantastic. Like, the Fantastic Beast exists in the Harry Potter universe as a textbook. Like, she didn't write that story.
Well, that character
she didn't write any of it.
Newt
the
Scamander.
character exists, but she didn't write these stories. So, like, these 3 movies aren't really I mean, they're canon in terms of like they have the Harry Potter moniker attached to them, but like she didn't write them.
I mean, 100% they're canon because Dumbledore is the main character.
Yeah, I
of
know.
this
That's
last
what I'm
one.
saying. But
We'll
like,
never see anything.
Well, you kind of
attached
like
to the
brush
Harry
it like
Potter
it's
name.
like kind of like it's
Outside of
100%
Cursed
main
Child.
storyline canon. Like
Yeah, that's what I'm
Grindelwald
saying, like,
was the Voldemort before Voldemort.
It's-
He's like the Morgoth.
right? I know that, but what I'm saying is it's canon because Warner Brother owns the rights to make it canon. It's not canon because J.K. Rowling wrote a series and was like, "Hey, I want this to be a continuation of Harry Potter." Like,
But it's canon, so
Yeah.
No. We'll
Oh no!
never see anything
Before we end,
attached to the Harry Potter name, except for Cursed Child.
Nathan's the only one going to get this, but we were talking about you didn't know any other creators that were hated by the fan base, but Inheritance, the Aragon series.
Really?
Christopher
I didn't know they
Paolini
did
is like a well known for sexually harassing women, like on his staff and like at events, like well known for it.
Christopher Paolini, do fucking better in the options
See,
you see this
that
podcast.
is-
that's why your
Yeah.
movie sucks.
Yeah, I'm gonna send it to you. Do better, buddy.
yeah,
The
that makes me
movies-
so much happier that Rick Riordan, the dude who wrote the Percy Jackson movies, is getting a Disney series and has never had anybody come out and be like, "Hey, this guy's a piece of shit. He minds his own business. He writes cool Greek mythology stories.
Not
and he
just
gets a
Greek.
series." Yeah, he just writes cool mythology stories. Take note, JK. Take note, Chris. You fucking scum.
Oh yeah, I think
bigots.
Paolini has written other series since then,
He
but
did. He
nothing
wrote a
will be as
spin-off
good.
series. I don't
Nothing
know
will be
what
as
it
good as
was, or
Inheritance
that one
was
planned.
so good. Until like
let's
the
go
Crazy to
very
think
end.
he wrote
Oh.
that as a child.
Yeah, sorry.
Let's go ahead and end it here because we're past our normal threshold, and I gotta pee.
well,
This has been another Spacebar podcast. Make sure to, if you're listening on Spotify, if you haven't already, follow us, rate us 5 stars. Rate us 5 stars. That helps out the podcast. Hit that. If you don't know where it is, do some research. I don't know how to tell you. Also, if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit us with a subscribe. Hit that bell notification. Slap that bell notification so you know whenever we do post
Smash
videos.
that like button.
I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays on Twitch.
Smash.
Twitch.tv/Kenobi the Shinobi. Anybody else have any call outs?
I'm getting back to streaming on a regular basis. It could be Wednesdays
see.
and Fridays. It might. Who knows? Anyways, twitch.tv /EricPat11. ERICEPATT11.
I might be having a special project that could or could not be coming at some point in the future, so I don't know.
Wow.
Keep your ears and eyes open for that.
Yeah. And Nathan's
That sounds
Nathan.
like a
We
maybe
will guide.
another gym project, maybe.
All right, guys. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys have a good day. Bye.
Bye. Have a wonderful
Bye.
time. Am I allowed to say that? Is that copyrighted?
What did you say?